Welcome to Hack the Machine Unmanned. Final update.
Hi there, and welcome back for our final update for Hack the Machine Unmanned.
And we're just reminding everybody that didn't hear it in the live broadcast back in November, Hack the Machine Miami, the continuation of this series will be happening in Miami in April 2022. But you guys have been finishing up track 3 for the last few weeks, so we've got some winners to announce today.
You got it, Zach. So for those of you who are joining us for the first time, I'm Stacy Welchley. I was the track lead for track 3, Top Model.
And I'm Zach Staples. I'm the host for Hack the Machine and Hack the Machine Unmanned. And just to give everybody a little bit of context, Hack the Machine is a 3-track event, 3 different types of challenges. So those tracks are Maritime Cyber, when we ran the Hack the Pilot competition this year.
Right, which was a bug bounty.
Which is a bug bounty contest, that's right. And then track 2 is a data science challenge. And so in data science, detective bot we call it, it was about laying the infrastructure and doing automated malware detection.
Right.
And then in track 3, it was Top Model. It's digital engineering always in track 3, but we're really focusing in on modeling and simulation this time. And it was a complex problem this time around.
Absolutely. So this one was a particularly involved one. And first of all, I want to thank and congratulate all of our competitors across all 3 tracks. We had individual contributors and team members that contributed to and that competed across the tracks.
That's right. You know, Hack the Machine, the community is really comprised of 3 things. It's our competitors and our community. It's our Navy sponsors, and then it's our stakeholders that provide us the game infrastructure and the inspiration for these ideas. So we wouldn't even have been here today without those sponsors and stakeholders. So before we go any further, I want to highlight them a little bit, and then let's come back and hear more about track 3.
Sounds good.
So for our sponsors, we couldn't do this without them. We're indebted to Rear Admiral Lauren Selby, the Chief of Naval Research, who leads the Office of Naval Research, who's the executive agent for Hack the Machine. We're grateful to Program Executive Officer for Unmanned and Small Combatants, Rear Admiral Casey Moten, and his Major Program Manager, Captain Small, who helped us put together track 1. We couldn't have done track 2 this year, again, without the continued support of Rear Admiral Rothenhaus out in San Diego at Naval Warfare Systems Center out there, the newly named NAVWAR, who in PEO C4I, who's been a longtime supporter of Hack the Machine. And in track 3 this year, for the first time, we have Rear Admiral Seiko Okano and the Program Executive Office for Integrated Warfare Systems that help us put on that. So those sponsors from the PEOs and ONR just vital to this. And in the stakeholder community, we have lots of other organizations, but particularly want to focus on the Joint Interagency Task Force South. JIATF South runs the counter-narcotics campaign in the maritime space, trying to stop the flow of illegal narcotics into the United States and Europe and out of South America. Their success directly improves the lives of tens of thousands of people around the world because they slow down the supply of illegal drugs that are so harmful to people everywhere. And their willingness to support this competition and our desire, frankly, to do something meaningful for them is what really gives Hack the Machine purpose. So thank you to all of you, but let's get into it. So you were running a particularly involved challenge this time in track 3, so we couldn't get it done in just the live event, right?
Right. So it's kicked off with the 4-day live event out in Alexandria.
Right, and what a busy 4 days that was.
Oh my goodness, was it ever. Our competitors were introduced to a problem that they formed the teams, they brainstormed about potential approaches, and then ultimately they presented those approaches to all the judges.
Okay.
So as busy as it was, our competitors still found time to join in some of the virtual fun social events that we hosted, and they dropped all kinds of memes.
Yeah, your people, I mean, for those of you who didn't see it, Stacy's track took everything we learned about actually having a good time in a virtual environment over living through this pandemic now for 2 years and put it all into play. I mean, it was a lot of fun, but it was serious fun because y'all were going after this important problem.
Exactly. So we weren't just doing the game, the competition.
Yeah.
We asked our competitors to model a scenario. We asked them to build out that scenario. And we asked them to show us how to derive insights from it. So they weren't just playing the game. They were creating the game.
Yeah, that's so important. You know, I love the way you say creating the game because we're at the beginning of this Hack the Machine Unmanned series, right?
Right, it's a continuum.
That's right. And they were helping us lay down the framework for how to do this multiple series of events between Hack the Machine, between the scout events that are coming up and creating a real feedback loop there to develop the insights for this novel naval formation Admiral Selby was talking about. And ultimately, but for those sponsors we mentioned, Hack the Machine must deliver value for those sponsors. So what we'll be doing over the next few months is taking the insights of the winners and translating those into what I like to call the militarily relevant outcomes and delivering those back to the sponsors so that there's a tight iteration loop between public-facing creativity and making a difference for our country. So with that said, you had the top teams from the live event presented their approaches,
Yes.
and then they actually got busy,
Yes.
right? So you had one track 3, but then inside the track there were multiple challenges, and that's what you were referring to a minute ago, I guess.
Right. It was tiers of gameplay.
Okay, how did that work?
So it started out with Challenge 1. And in the first series
Right.
of the challenges, the teams put their brainstorming to the test and implemented approaches that they presented during the live event.
Okay, and so after we had the approaches, with the approach we have kind of the structure of how they're going to analyze the problem.
Right.
And what comes next in challenge 2?
Next up, they have to capture the behavior of the drug runners.
Okay.
So we were talking about the drug running in the Western Hemisphere transit zone,
Okay.
right? This is a wide area search problem.
Mhm.
So they're trying to model what the drug running behavior would look like.
And JIAF South owns that problem.
Exactly.
So JIAF South owns that problem. We now have a multiple approaches for the model of how that works. And then JIAF South has what they call force packages that they apply on this. That's where challenge 2 picks up, right?
That's exactly where challenge 2 picks up. We wanted to have the competitors model what the efficacy of the force packages looked like in that environment.
Okay, so that's the challenge 2 result that they presented. And then just a couple days ago on Wednesday, they presented the challenge 3 results. And so what is that about?
So challenge 3 is all about suggesting other additional options that would be better force package elements.
Right. So that's where it seems like it really interlaps with Hack the Machine Unmanned. So how we can take the problem as it exists now, the tools that we have now, and then rapidly and in a cost-effective way iterate on the digital space of what would be the optimal force package, whether manned or unmanned. And so challenge 3, we got to see all those results come back, right?
Exactly.
So that's pretty exciting. So y'all ran that whole series of events, and you had a bunch of people who competed, but ultimately we got to find winners. And so you had all of your early entries into the contestants, and then you necked down into some semifinalists, and then those semifinalists have been running.
Exactly.
All right, so tell us how that story rolled.
Yeah, we had 7 semifinalist teams that progressed all the way through the final round of the competition. These teams presented a range of creative approaches using different techniques. They each had their own strengths and weaknesses. Even teams that used similar approaches focused on different parts of the problem.
So that's exciting. So you had those 7 semifinalists. I'd like to celebrate some of their work. So tell me about one of the semifinalists that took an interesting, novel approach.
Sure. So the UMD team focused on a high fidelity modeling of agent behavior and modular inherent structures. And you can see from their simulations that we're playing on screen now.
Yeah, Stacey, this is fantastic. One of the things I like about this is it really represents that 3 challenge structure that you talked about. First of all, you had the game environment, so you can see how they laid down the game environment here. And then on top of that, you had them showing how the force packages work. But then ultimately, you see where they have detected and undetected tracks in the Western Hemisphere traffic zone, and we really get a predictive performance model. So their ability to actually model all 3 challenges leads us to some insights about actual effectiveness that we can start to use to support the problem and inform the Navy's use of models. So it really is kind of both sides of that game. Help JIADF, help IWS, and everybody raise our model game. So this is fantastic work. Well, that's fascinating. They took a high fidelity modeling approach of exactly what we asked them to do. Let's talk about somebody that went above and beyond and modeled something other than the tracks. Do we have any examples of that?
Oh yeah, Salacious Crumb is an excellent model of that. They focused on layering an environment representation and including factors like cloud ceiling and sea state and precipitation, and created detailed models for how these environmental factors affected assets and sensor performance.
So this is fascinating. In the maritime environment, whether it's sea haze, overcast skies, precipitation, or even in like really sunny spots around the equator, on a bright, clear, sunny day, environmental impacts like glare on a lens can impact sensor performance. So one of the interesting things about this that you're showing us is how they took cloud sealing and made the weather patterns impact sensor performance.
Sure. And when we're talking about sensor performance, we're talking about really the cone of detection area.
How that impacts detectability for any given thing. So those are two different ways of doing high fidelity approaches, but low fidelity modeling can enable like a broader search space. Do we have any good examples of that?
Yes, definitely. So Schreiner University chose instead to take an approach that was inspired by particle filters. Though this approach was lower fidelity than reinforcement learning approaches, it allowed them to quickly simulate various force packages without having to initiate additional training cycles. This could allow for more computationally efficient methods of selecting from many force package possibilities.
Stacey, this representation is interesting because you can see the outline of like the Isthmus of Panama in South America. But this low fidelity approach means that they're able to explore so many more options for the force package so that we can digitally converge on what the best option would be before we spend any money to go actually build those platforms or sensors.
That's exactly right, Zach. So the cool thing about this team is that this professor actually started working on this project, this problem, 10 years ago. He was working up his PhD, yeah.
That's cool.
At some point, he got sidetracked and pulled away from it. But when he saw the opportunity come up on Hack the Machine Unmanned, he revitalized the passion
I love that.
working in wide area search.
I love that. For everybody out there, this is exactly what we mean when we talk about the maritime digital community. And again, I'm going to keep plugging it, but Miami, April 2022 is the next time the community is going to get together, and we'll be able to hopefully get back together in person and meet all of these wonderful people we've been able to collaborate with virtually over the last year and a half.
Yeah, that would be wonderful.
That'll be great. But we're here for a reason, to announce the winners, right?
That's it.
All right. Well, let's get to it then, Stacey. Who is our third place winner?
In third place, winning $5,000, is Schreiner University.
And in second?
Second place, we have UMD, University of Maryland.
Yeah, we're so proud of that student faculty team from the University of Maryland Collective Dynamics and Control Laboratory. Long name, but the UMD team was awesome. All right, drum roll. Who's our winner?
Salacious Crumb, winning $15,000.
All right, Salacious Crumb. Hey, for everybody out there who competed in Hack the Machine in any track, this completes all three of our tracks. We'll be actually cutting the checks next week, so they'll be in the mail before Christmas. We're so excited and proud of everybody who did this. I'm going to plug it one more time. We're doing Hack the Machine Unmanned in Miami, Florida in April of 2022. And what we're going to be doing that I'm really excited about is we're taking the Maritime Cyber track, Hack the Pilot. We're taking the Data Science track, and we're taking the Digital Engineering track that you ran. And we're merging those into a collection that supports this novel formation that you heard Admiral Selby talk about, as well as helping build out the transition path between the research and development that ONR does and the systems development and implementation for the fleet that the program executive offices are doing. We couldn't do this event without our sponsors, right?
Absolutely.
That's not just what makes the funding possible, but the sponsors are what makes this ideation actually make a difference for the nation. So thanks again to the Office of Naval Research, the Program Executive Office for Integrated Warfare Systems, the Program Executive Office for C4I, Admiral Ralphenhouse and his team out there in California, as well as the Program Executive Office for Unmanned and Small Combatants at NAVSEA. We'll be involving some more folks from NAVAIR, so we've got all three of the Navy SysComs involved in the sponsorship process, and we will see you in Miami. I'm getting ready. Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Stay tuned for updates on the next live Hack the Machine in spring 2022. Until next time, powering down.